Hey there, YouTube. How's everybody doing out there today? I hope you all had a good weekend. Man, I have been eating some. I shared some peaches recently in a video, and the peaches have just been like spectacular. Might be the actual best fruit, best quality fruit I'm getting these days. Watermelons are still coming in. They're still good. The quality's not quite at that peak like it was, but the peaches, woof. Today I'm going to just talk about how there's no willpower on my raw vegan diet. This is just kind of another one of those clarification videos just to like straighten up. Like I say, I'm never recruiting. I'm not trying to encourage people to eat one way or the other. I just kind of like show you what I do, how I eat, and kind of like the method, the process. And just like I say, a lot of people kind of get it twisted a little bit on that, because there's hardly a week that goes by that I don't get a message or a comment on something, whether it's a YouTube video or on Instagram, about I have no the person talking about themselves like, oh, I have no discipline, or they're like, I wish I had your willpower. And as soon as I hear that, that's almost like nails down the chalkboard to me, because that's not it. That has never had anything to do with how I eat now or for the last 10 years. And it's something I don't think a lot of people want to hear, but they need to do it. It's like, that's kind of that's the mentality of all the past diets you've done, the South Beach diets, the Jenny Craig's, all these type of stuff. It's always about willpower, because it's always about restricting. There is no magic formula, or at least I don't have a magic formula for you. It's not been any magic for me over the past 10 years. I just do it. I just do it. And here's the thing that people just will not listen to. It just seems to go in one ear, out the other. It doesn't filter into their brains. They purposely filter it out, but you're not going to stop craving things until you stop putting those things in your mouth. You're not going, maybe if people think they're just going to eat on the fringe and you're going to eat this and that, and all of a sudden, one day, that this craving's just going to magically disappear. Well, that's not how it's going to happen. It's the same thing as a cigarette. A cigarette's not going to just all of a sudden one day while you're still smoking become unattractive or unappealing to you. It's always going to be appealing to you until you stop doing it. And okay, now smoking is not the best analogy, because there is going to be a little bit of willpower necessary in those early stages. But the point I'm trying to make there is, like cigarette smoking, with certain foods and things you don't find that serve you anymore, you stop smoking for 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, whatever, and you're doing good, and those cravings get a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. As soon as you take that first puff, as soon as you smoke that first cigarette, it almost takes you back to the starting block. And it's kind of the same way with food. If you just keep putting these things, you're eating the chips, you're eating the cookies, you're eating certain processed things, you're going to keep wanting those. Until you just kind of get through that process. Now, the reason I say there's no willpower necessary, and even since it's not a great analogy with the cigarette, a lot of times, yeah, you can chew the gum, you can do other things, you can suck on a lollipop, but there's not really a substitute for it. Whereas just eating, like, and I've said this over and over and over, doing these videos, probably the one thing that kept me on this path for the last 10 years is the fact that I can eat all the time. It's not a diet. I've never restricted since day one. And it's kind of crazy, because I lost a crazy amount of weight in the beginning, not knowing what I was doing, but still, that's the thing. You can, if you're eating the right foods, if you're not scarfing down just like tons of fat, you don't have to be hungry. So there's not that willpower that's necessary, because think about diets that you've done in the past, whichever ones they might have been, the Atkins, the this and the that ones. You always get to that point, or I always did, and I think it's a fairly common experience, where, say, you ate your breakfast, it's 10 o'clock, you're wanting something, you're craving something bad, maybe at your office, you want to go down to the vending machine, or you're at home, whatever. You're going to eat, you're trying to hold out. because the portions are always smaller. You're not ever eating in abundance. So you're constantly, basically with most diets, you're white knuckling it. Most health plans, you're white knuckling it and just holding on. And willpower and discipline doesn't last forever. You have some of these phenomenal people like these David Goggins type people. Even with him, with the willpower and the discipline, I think after a certain point with everything in life, we get past the discipline and the willpower and it just becomes part of what we're doing. But as far as the eating goes, no, you don't need it. I can eat I can eat ice cream. I can eat ice cream every day. Another thing too, I like what I eat. Now, I know I live a little bit differently and I'm a little bit of a stranger cat, but the things I eat are not, because I'm not sitting around drinking that smoothie that I always show on my what I eat in a day videos, and I've shared it a number of times on Instagram. It's kind of dense, it's kind of dank looking, it's got like a ton of kale in there, it's got other things, so it's not, to other people, I don't think it's the most appealing thing in the world. To me, I love it. Some days I'm like, okay, I've had enough calories, I've had enough this or that for the day. I really don't need to have a green smoothie in the afternoon. And that's kind of my craving. It's like, okay, yeah, you really don't need, you've eaten enough today, you don't need a green smoothie. Or you've eaten mostly enough and you need something a little bit smaller than your green smoothie. So yeah, you don't have to restrict if you're eating the right things. Now listen, let me just say, I've realized, and I should verbalize this more and more, I realize that a lot of the things I say here may not be as relatable or may not seem just as matter of fact or simple to you, because I live differently than most humans. I've talked about it before with the isolation, but for the whole 10 years that I've lived as a vegan, as a mostly raw vegan, I've been by myself. I've probably consumed, I'd say safely, I've consumed 90% of the food that I've intaken in the last 10 years by myself. So I don't have that outside pressure. I don't have, I don't have like, me and the wife, or the wife's making stuff for the kids, or people. I don't have people in my house other than my roommate who is making food. So in other words, I'm not involved. We're roommates. We're friends, but we're roommates. So we're not involved in each other's food. But when it's like a family or whatever, and so it usually ends falling on mama. This is usually the dynamic. There's a lot of women that I've run across in this lifestyle that they're the only one in the family doing it. And maybe the rest of the family is not even vegan, much less raw. So she's trying to make the meals for the husband and kids. She's trying to do the raw thing. There's always these temptations around. She's cooking. She's, tempted to take a taste. I don't have any of those temptations. I don't go out to eat. So I don't have to think about that. I don't have to think about, okay, well, I really want to eat this, but I don't want to eat that. So there's no outside pressures on how I eat. And that's something that I've kind of become a little set in my ways. And as I go forward in life, eventually I'm going to get out of this area. And I don't know how big my social circle will be. I don't know if that'll ever include a significant other, partners, small community, or whatever. But I'll tell you one thing that would be very, very hard for me, and then I'll finish this off here because I'm just rambling, is I'm used to eating exactly what I want, exactly when I want to eat it. So I'm not sure how adaptable I would be to all of a sudden being plugged into a situation with a family or other people, or living in a household situation where I always had to be thinking ahead. So like I say, I'm on my own on that. So that might be the one advantage I have in this lifestyle, but there's no willpower, there's no discipline involved. And if you're trying to get by on willpower, it's just like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. It won't last. It won't last forever. You gotta feed yourself, and that's why all the detoxers and cleansers tend to be the ones to fall by the wayside, because they're not eating. They're always hungry. So anyhow, that's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you here again maybe tomorrow. I didn't only had my normal 3 videos last week, but I've got a number of ideas this week, so probably gonna see more videos. So y'all be good. Peace.